According to an article titled The Epidemiology of Obesity, A Big Picture, published in the U.S. National Library of Medicine in 2016 by Dr. Adela Hruby and Dr. Frank Hu from the Department of Nutrition, Harvard School of Public Health, it is estimated that, by the year 2030, a staggering 38% of the adult population worldwide will be overweight, while another 20% will have succumbed to the distressing condition of obesity. And according to a scientific review published by Sharon Frew, a board-certified family nurse practitioner and a professor at the University of South Alabama, obesity is a growing global health issue that puts patients at a high risk of developing comorbidities, such as cardiovascular disease, gastrointestinal disorders, type 2 diabetes, joint and muscular disorders, respiratory problems, and psychological issues, which may significantly affect their daily lives as well as increasing mortality risks. White rice, a staple food in many countries, has been linked to postprandial blood glucose levels and may be a contributing factor to obesity. To investigate this potential association, in 2013, a cross-sectional study was conducted with 212 subjects selected through non-random sampling. Sociodemographic and dietary intake data were collected by expert interviewers in face-to-face interviews. Surprisingly, the study failed to find any significant association between the frequency of white rice consumption and body mass index or waist circumference. This finding was consistent across both crude and adjusted models, suggesting that white rice intake alone is not a significant predictor of obesity in this population. However, the study relied on self-reported data, which may introduce measurement error and bias. Participants may have misremembered or misreported their food intake, which could impact the study's results. Also, the study used a cross-sectional design, which is limited in its ability to establish causal relationships. It may be difficult to determine if the frequency of white rice consumption directly affects obesity, or if other variables are at play. On the other hand, in a 2016 cross-sectional study, researchers assessed the association between white rice consumption and anthropometric measures, as well as diet quality indices, among 415 female Iranian adolescents. And their findings suggest that there is a significant association between white rice consumption and both obesity and diet quality indices among Iranian adolescents. However, it is worth noting that this was also a cross-sectional study, which is limited in its ability to establish causal relationships. Further research is needed to better understand the relationship between white rice intake and obesity. It is no secret that white rice is emblematic of a highly processed grain. As a result of the removal of its germ and bran, which contain the bulk of its essential vitamins, minerals, fiber, and essential fats, what remains is essentially starch. This starch is composed of a large number of glucose units, making it a form of hidden sugar. In fact, white rice rates about 65 on the glycemic index. Also, white rice has about 240 calories per cup. Two scientists from the College of Chemical Sciences Industrial Technology Institute, Sri Lanka, Sudhir James and Dr. Pushparaja Thavaraja, experimented with 38 types of rice from Sri Lanka and developed a new cooking method that increased the content of resistant starch. According to Sudhir James, starch can be digestible or indigestible. Starch is a component of rice, and it has both types. Unlike digestible types of starch, resistant starch is not broken down in the small intestine, where carbohydrates normally are metabolized into glucose and other simple sugars and absorbed into the bloodstream. Rice is loaded with starch, 1.6 ounces in a cup. After our body converts carbohydrates into glucose, any leftover fuel gets converted into a polysaccharide carbohydrate called glycogen. Our liver and muscles store glycogen for energy and quickly turn it back into glucose as needed. The issue is that the excess glucose that doesn't get converted to glycogen ends up turning into fat, which can lead to excessive weight or obesity.
By the way, before I continue, if you're new here, I'm Jara from the Philippines.
Welcome to my channel where I share my knowledge and discoveries about everything related to anti-aging, natural health remedies, dogs and cats, and personal development gained from reading research articles and scientific journals. If you also have a gluttonous appetite for new knowledge, please consider subscribing and turning on the notification bell so that you'll get notified whenever I upload a new video. Also, you might want to check out my mini ebook 40 Wrinkle Fighters Other Than Retinol, backed by scientific studies. Just click the link in the description box below or go directly to my PayHip store at payhip.com/Jara Soriano.
Moving on, the new cooking method that could cut the number of calories absorbed by the body involves adding a teaspoon of coconut oil to boiling water before simmering the rice for 40 minutes or boiling it for 20 to 25 minutes. The rice is then refrigerated for 12 hours to increase the resistant starch content by 10 times. The cooling process leads to the formation of hydrogen bonds between amylose molecules outside the rice grains, turning it into a resistant starch. It was also observed that even when the chilled rice was reheated, it still maintained its novel properties. How can such a simple change in cooking result in a lower-calorie food? James explains that the oil enters the starch granules during cooking, changing its architecture so that it becomes resistant to the action of digestive enzymes. This means that fewer calories ultimately get absorbed into the body. The researchers plan to study which rice varieties are best suited to the calorie reduction process and whether other oils besides coconut have the same effect.
If you've learned something you didn't know before watching this presentation and you appreciate the time I invested in researching, writing, and creating this presentation, please give this video a like. If you're interested in looking and feeling your best and exploring natural solutions, please consider subscribing. Thanks for watching!